In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your oneness with the source of heaven. Now, one of my teachers from seminary, Joyce, she was one of the two people that founded seminary. She would always say, she'd come over, she'd whisper in your ear, Simon, Simon Ruth, you are the light of the world. Now, I know that I wasn't the only person that she said this to. She said this to everybody. It was really beautiful to behold. And one time she said, you are the light of the world. Simon Ruth, I really love you. But what she was communicating was, you are precious. The light held in your heart is of the utmost beauty, and I see it. Donna Markova says, what is loved reveals its loveliness. Now, Joyce wasn't saying, Simon Ruth, you're a minister, you're a leader, or Simon Ruth, you do great things. No, she was saying, I see the divine light in you, and it is breathtaking to behold. And that is how she saw all of us. Now, this is a bit of a sideways piece of art I'm going to bring in. I'm reading Beauty, the Invisible Embrace by John O'Donoghue, and he describes light in an amazing way. Light is the visual Eucharist of things. So let me say that in UCC terms. Light is the communion of things. He says that light is one of the greatest forces of transfiguration in the world, and that it literally alters everything it touches because it dresses it with color and beauty. It brings pink to the granite, green to the leaves, blue to the ocean, and yellow to the dawn. Let's sing about this. This is a Sufi song from the Muslim tradition. And they talk about spiritual practice as polishing the mirror of your heart so that you can reflect more of the divine light. And I think it's really true. And I really have to say that spiritual practice, whatever it is, whether you're doing yoga or reading the Bible, whatever it is, that polishes the mirror of your heart so that you can reflect more of the light. Kind of like this minister thing. This is why I wear it. This is the holy darkness, and this is the light, hopefully coming through my words, my voice, hopefully. That's why I wear the minister garb, is because it reminds me of what my job is. Let my heart reflect thy light, Lord, as the moon reflects the light of the sun in love. Always in love. If you don't like the word Lord, change it to love. Let my heart reflect thy light, Lord, as the moon reflects the light of the sun in love. Always in love. Hu ala la hu ala la hu ala la hu. Hu ala la hu ala la hu ala la hu. Let my heart reflect thy light, Lord, as the moon reflects the light of the sun in love, always in love. It's amazing. I can see Zoom turning down my mixer as I'm singing. Oh my God, it's crazy. I've never had this problem before. Hafiz is another Sufi mystic, says, carry your heart through the world like a life-giving sun. All right. I'm going to weave in a new tapestry now. Hildegard von Bingen, you're probably going to hear me talking about her a lot in the next few months because I'm doing a course with Matthew Fox on Hildegard von Bingen and creation mysticism. So Hildegard von Bingen is a saint. I talked about her last time I was here. It took the Catholic Church 900 years to make her a saint, and that can only mean one thing, is that she had very interesting things to say. And here is one of her poems and a piece of her art. She probably around the age of menopause received all these visions and was told to write things down, and and saw the sacred. She called it the life light spoke to her, and these paintings and poems emerged from that. Here's one of them. Invisible life that sustains all, I awaken to life, everything in every waft of air. The air is life, greening and blossoming. The waters flow with life. The sun is lit with life. The moon, when waning, is again rekindled by the sun, waxing with life once more. The stars shine, radiating with life light. All creation is gifted with the ecstasy of God's light. Let me read that again. Invisible life that sustains all, I awaken to life, everything in every waft of air. The air is life, greening and blossoming. The waters flow with life. The sun is lit with life. The moon, when waning, is again rekindled by the sun, waxing with life once more. The stars shine, radiating with life light. All creation is gifted with the ecstasy of God's light. And I've got a song for us in this theme. I'm going to sing it a cappella or guitar very quietly to try and stop Zoom from turning it down. This one's by my friend Alana. I'll risk it. I'll play it really quietly. Behold, I make all things new. Behold, I make all things new. Behold, I make all things new. Let there be light. Let there be light. God unseen is taking form. God unseen is taking form. God unseen is taking form. Let there be life. Let there be life. First and last is surging forth. First and last is surging forth. First and last is surging forth. Becoming life. Becoming life. So it's the height of summer. Here in Vermont, it's the time of fireflies. They're probably what inspired this whole sermon, probably. It's the very end of the peonies. If I shake this, they'll probably, lose their petals. It's a very warm, moist time. The air is heavy with moisture and heat. The moss patch is so vital, it's practically humming. Angela of Foligno said, The world is pregnant with God. Birthing, creating, becoming, these are my words. Aging, dying, recycling, and always evolving with life, teeming with the green force of life. And that spark of life, that potential, I think it might be what people mean by logos. I'm not the best theologian in the whole world. I'm just a creative thinker. And why I like Hildegard von Bingen is she talks about this life light that speaks to her. Now, Matthew Fox, he's an Episcopalian priest. He used to be a Catholic priest, but he was slightly too radical and used to talk a lot about original blessing and the original sin was folly. Matthew Fox talks about this life light as the cosmic Christ. And last week he described the cosmic Christ very beautifully. He said, the cosmic Christ is the experience of this living light, this present, this glory. He called the cosmic Christ the presence of holiness all around us in nature. Notice for him, the cosmic Christ is not a being, it's an experience. I think my word is presence, but I found that very helpful. Okay, but the thing is, you just need to turn on the news or even talk to a family member to realize that we are both light and dark. Let's not go down that road of light is good and dark is bad. Both are needed. We are shadow dwellers. We get burnt if we spend too much time in the light of the sun, and we lose our vitality if we are just surrounded by darkness. I absolutely believe that spirituality is about making both the light and the dark as conscious as possible. And part of that is us opening to the hidden aspects of who we are. Inside us, we'll find both a Pandora's box and the Christ light. Now, I once heard the philosopher Alan Watts saying that the problem with Christianity, now he used to be an Episcopalian priest, he said the problem with Christianity is that it is unattainable. He said that we're setting ourselves up to fail because we've turned the Son of Man into the Son of God. And his point is very reasonable. Now, he's playing with language, but there's something about what we call at the moment spiritual bypass, or I'm not going to explain it. I'm going to let Brene Brown explain it in this short video. Here we go.
Pema Chodron has this definition of compassion that says compassion is not a relationship between the wounded and the healed. It's a relationship between equals. You have to know your darkness well enough to sit in the dark with others. And so what I think we see today in the world, we are divided as people because we are not integrated as individuals. I have to understand my darkness and my light. I have to understand how both of those work. And you see people, I call it the Umbridge from Harry Potter. You see people who are not integrated, that are all light. We're like, hey, everything's awesome and you're awesome and I'm awesome and everything's awesome. Yeah, right, exactly. No, yeah, everything is awesome. And then on the inside, they're going, I want to cut you while you're sleeping. You know, like they don't have like this integration of dark and light.
Going to give us another little reflection piece. This one is from John O'Donoghue, talking about color. He's talking about the beauty of color, but he has a lot to say about darkness.
So black occurs when an object is absorbing all of the colored wavelengths. And this is why nothing is reflected back from it. So black has huge hunger for color. In a way, blackness could be seen as the grave of colour. So it's understandable that it has been used as the symbolic colour of grief in the Western world. Black is really, and darkness, the canvas against which beauty can emerge. And this is where it's very interesting to look on the whole nature of the shadow and how the power of the shadow has been used in painting. Leonardo da Vinci used this wonderfully. And then how it's used to understand the soul and the mind. And one of Jung's most fascinating insights is the understanding of the shadow. And I suppose in terms of physics and physiology, a shadow is a dark figure cast on some surface by a body which stands in the way of the light. And the shadow takes on the form of the intruding body. I think it's very often not noticed that the shadow is actually a child of the darkness and of the light as well. And it would be interesting to see some understandings of the shadow which would bring out more the hidden light in it than the concealed darkness. Because very often our understanding of the shadow is full of the negativity of what has been repressed and taken out of circulation from the daily self. In Irish, the word for shadow, there are two words actually. One is ska and the other one is scoil. And there's an old shanachal or proverb in Irish which says, is there ska a chéile a warrants nadini? That people live in the shadow of each other.
John O'Donoghue said, shadow is a child of the light and the darkness. Something in my soul woke up when I heard that. His poetic way of describing the way he sees the world is so full of God's presence. I remember a line from poetry that kind of, I say saved my life, but really it saved my soul. It was a life raft to my soul when I needed it. And the line was, only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. And it found its way into one of my songs, and I sing, in darkness I could see light, so in life now I see shadows, like a river walk beneath some tall beech trees. That's a wee bit obscure, but what I'm trying to describe is a place in Perthshire where my ancestors lived, and this beautiful walk along the Tilt Burn River, and these beech trees, and how profoundly beautiful it is, and the awe for the life force that was in the world that I only saw from a place where my days were full of darkness. Carl Jung says, we don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light. We become enlightened by making the darkness conscious. Now, you've heard me say that again and again. It's one of the things that if I was somebody that liked tattoos would probably be tattooed onto my body. What does he mean by this? Well, somewhere else, Jung says, conflict exists strictly as an opportunity to raise our consciousness. Now, he wasn't a fluffy person that was overly seeing the light. You know, he saw the uprise of the Nazis. He, very, very interesting person who knows a lot about how awful humans can be. I sometimes see religion, including Christianity, running away from its shadow, which of course is an impossible thing to do. It's absolutely impossible to outrun your shadow. It'll just follow you wherever you go. And as we move into 4th of July next week and the power of this nation, it's really important that we do the shadow work, that we look at our history and that we incorporate the light and the darkness so that healing and wisdom can come through. Now, the very last piece of the quilt that we're weaving today in the sermon is a video by a friend of mine. This is, well, maybe that's too strong a word, a good acquaintance, John Philip Newell. He belongs to the same abbey that I lived in, and I know him quite well. Now, he's a biblical scholar, right? So he is very well aware of our scripture passage about you are the light of the world. So he's not ignoring that when he talks here. He's actually digging into it and showing a deep understanding of what it means to carry the light of the world within us. How do we put that light on the light lamp stand? Here it is.
Operating as I do within the sort of Judeo-Christian inheritance, this is like my home address. So, you know, while I have great reverence for other wisdom traditions, other religions, my real home address is my Christian and Jewish root inheritance. So our tradition has this description right at the beginning of our scriptural inheritance of the story of the 7 days of creation. And I think one of the very interesting things about that story is that it's on the first day in the story that God says, "Let there be light." But it's not until the fourth day in the story, that we hear God creating the great lights in the firmament, the sun, the moon, and the stars. So what is this light that's being spoken of? I think it's a story that points us into this hidden light, or this light that is within all things. And if somehow that light of the first day were withdrawn from the universe, then everything would cease to exist. So that this divine light, or this sacred light of God, is not only a dimension of life, it is the very essence of life. And in the Celtic Christian tradition, from which I draw very heavily, everything is seen as essentially a theophany, that is, as a showing of the light of God. And instead of looking away from what has been created to find the light of God, there's this desire to move deep within everything that has being. We see it shining in one another's eyes. We see it coming out of anything that has being. And there's a Scottish poet, Kenneth White, who speaks about a grey stone from the Scottish shores being split open. And in that apparently grey stone, when it's split open, he sees this sort of shining even from within the darkness of stone. And he in that poem speaks about the light that is within all things. So I think one of the liberating aspects of this starting point of seeing that the light of God is deep within everything, it's like the subterranean stream running through all things. I think one of the very liberating aspects of this is that our job is not to create light. Our job is not to think that we can place some light into the darkness of our world situation, or into the darkness of the madness of what's happening in the Middle East, or into the darkness of madness that can be happening within our own families, within our own communities. Our job is not to create the light. Our job is to find ways of releasing that light that's already there. It's right at the heart of the other. It's right at the heart of all things. And our invitation is to be part of setting this light free in ways that can be for our well-being and for our healing.
I mean, not free, you'll charge for it, because it wouldn't be sustainable if it was free.
John Philip Newell says, our job is not to create light. It is not our job to place some light into the darkness of the world. So he's saying it's not our role to be the hero, the knight. When we do that, we end up bullying others by mistake, or being like the zealot monkey that pulls the trout out of the pond to try and rescue them from their watery grave. John Philip Newell says that our job is to release the light that is already there. We set the light free in ways that promote our well-being and healing. This really reminds me of Joyce, my teacher from seminary, that old lady. When I used to go down into her chair and she was tiny woman on a office wheelie chair who sat at the back of seminary. And for the longest time, I could not understand who she was or what she was doing there. And then I discovered that she was one of the two co-founders of the seminary. But it wasn't until second year that I realized she was releasing the light that was already there. She almost never taught us anything. Occasionally, she would get excited about a quote or a reading and come up and read it for us, but she probably took up 0.0001 of the airtime. She was very truly doing exactly what John Philip Newell was describing, which was releasing the light that was already there. And she was doing that thing that St. Francis talks about: preach the gospel at all times, if necessary, use words. So, to put it plainly, this world is far more intricate and complex than we can understand with black and white thinking. It's a world of shadows and mystery. And the natural response from us to this is to share our light and to make the shadow side of our natures more conscious, to do less harm. There's so much more I could say, but I'm going to close with this prayer by John Philip Newell. It's one of my favorites. In the temple of my inner being, in the temple of my body, in the temple of earth, sea, and sky, in the great temple of the universe, I look for the light that was in the beginning, the mighty fire that blazes still from the heart of life, glowing in the whiteness of the moon, glistening in the night stars, hidden in the black earth, concealed in the unknown depths of my soul. In both the light and the shadow of my being, let me glimpse the glow of the eternal. Thank you for listening, everybody.